All right, joining us now for the first time here on In the Circle, D1 softball, powered by 643. She is the head coach over at St. John's, fresh off a Big East regular season title where they won a program record 39 wins, 19 wins in the Big East. They were Big East coaching staff of the year. I speak of Michelle DePolo joining us for the first time here on In the Circle. How you doing, Coach?
Great, great. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Well, let's talk about before we talk about this year's team and a little bit about you. Let's talk about last year, that historic year where you took the sport there, the Big East, winning the regular season title, winning 39 games, a program record, 19 Big East wins, numerous achievements. When you reflect on last season, what comes to your mind?
Uh, I mean, really just proud of the athletes, proud of the program, proud and impressed with my coaching staff, the dedication they put in, the time, the effort, the just the synergy that they formed, and just our wherewithal to keep fighting, and really taking it one day at a time. I think those are some of the biggest reflections where we talk about, where if we just focus on what we're doing, how the score, the results, everything will just they'll show up, even if they're poor, they'll show up based on what we're putting in. So I think it was a great experience for them. I'm just so proud of their tenacity and their ability to just keep pushing.
Since your arrival at St. John's, you've had two of the five best winning seasons in the history of the program. You had 31 wins first season, 39. Like, just talk about kind of clicking there with the program in a quick, short period of time there as your time has been there since arriving there in the 2024 season.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll probably touch upon this later, but I think, when I saw this opportunity, I saw opportunity and I saw a need, and I thought it was a place that I felt like I could help in some way. And a lot of the philosophy was just really empowering the people around me. The funny thing about the past 2 years, I don't know if this is going to be good or bad for the future, depending on what the next 2 years look like. A lot of the athletes were the same. So, we had there was a very young team that then became about middle age during those times to seniors. So, it was time to capture and really try to work on the leadership piece and capture their attention, because at that time you really start thinking, oh man, I only have 1 year left. I only have 2 years left. They saw the coaching change through. They stayed. Those athletes that were on the roster the past 2 years stayed despite the coaching change. So it was very much like, let's see what we can do. And I owe this team and I owe these athletes the best that we can give them. So a lot of credit to them for really each year embracing the coaching style, embracing the attitude that we tried to really inject into the program. And I think then, results beget results sometimes. So you see that and you feel confident. And that was the whole thing, is a lot of putting some confidence in them too. Again, I really just think the athletes were ready. A lot of times they say the teacher shows up when the pupil is ready. And I think there was a piece of that. And again, our coaching staff, really just we all are on the same page. We're all on the same page all the time. And we're really able to work tremendously hard for the program.
Let's talk a little bit about what really put a lot of people on notice was your pitching staff. You were one of the best pitching staffs in the country. You had one of the best 1-2 punches pitching wise. Let's talk about that pitcher. Where did that come from? That development. You had the Big East pitcher of the year in Anna Serafinko. The numbers just bear it out. Just talk about that, because that's when a lot of people started taking notice. Like, whoa, this is a team that you got one of the best pitching staffs in the country.
Yeah. Again, I think they were there, they were young when I got there, so they were sophomores. So each freshman year, Serafinko got injured, so she was out most of the year, actually, and unfortunately, the bulk of the year, second or third weekend till the end of April. So that plays a big piece into her freshman year, and Francia was a bit in and out. And I think freshman year is always going to have its unpredictability, even if you're 100% healthy coming in and adjusting. So having again a good time. And again, then just on top of that, second year coming in, I work with the pitchers on a daily basis in the bullpen. So really just kind of trying to gain their trust and respect. But I'm also a very how to say it coaching wise, I just don't really have an ego about me. I think there's so many different ways to be successful that I don't really think things are my way or no way. I think they're both Francia and Serafinko just very different types of pitchers, but also again ways to be successful with what they have. And I've been through it. I've been a pitcher. I've been on the mound. I know kind of the thoughts that are going through their heads, and also um, recognizing maybe like switches or anything. And then Coach Rizzi is a phenomenal hitting coach too, so she can read the hitters tremendously. So us working together a lot with those two things and her input being valuable. But Serafinko and Francia, like they're just they just have it in them. They're just bred. They want to win. They want to compete. They want to get better. They want to balance the physical piece with the mental piece, and they want to succeed. And they want the ball in their hands. So, I mean, how much more could you ask for as a coach than to have people with that kind of attitude every day who are willing to do whatever they need to do to help their teams and help themselves, and reciprocate with the coaching staff in every way, all coaches.
How do you compare the two of them? How are they different? How are they similar personality wise? I mean, Serafinko and Francia, I mean, the numbers speak for itself. Francia 19 wins last year. Serafinko also 19 wins, 276 strikeouts. I mean, you got first team pitchers, Big East for both of them, and they're both could be the favorites for the Big East pitcher of the year again, among other accomplishments.
Yeah, I mean, I tell them that during the year. Like a lot of times when someone gets the ball, I have a great issue. I have a great problem all through the Big East too. I mean, obviously the tournament didn't turn out the way we wanted to, but even during the tournament, I had a great decision or challenging decision to always say neither one's a wrong choice and both of them can always be a good choice. And I feel that way every day, every game, all the time, no matter what the decision is made and no matter how it's made, or even to flip flop them, then I start to look a little bit more on a tactical side of which to do when, why. But really, no athlete is a one better than the other choice per se. How are they different? I mean, they're they're actually I'd say on the exterior part they're very different. On the interior part they're very similar. And when I say the exterior, I mean Francia is this tall, lanky pitcher, spins the absolute snot of the ball, and depends on, we've really isolated into her bread and butter, right-handed, doesn't throw as hard. Serafinko left-handed, throws harder, has a little bit quicker direct motion, different pitches that she likes to use to attack batters than Francia. Ball comes off their hand differently, just a lot of differences in that regard. Similarly, again, team players want the ball, willing to look to each other, like to pick each other up. I mean, when one has maybe a bad outing or something they were less than excited about, the other one's the first one to pick that person up, like go talk to them and speak to them. How they process things is different. I mean, so many things about them are different, but I think the important pieces, the intangible pieces, are the same. The non-negotiables about how they attack the game, how they attack their presence on the team, their relationships, those things are the same or similar. I think life would be very boring if everyone was the same.
Fair, I agree. That's the
But
beauty of life.
I think the bedrock of our values as a team and as humans are the same.
How do you have two when you have two pitchers as established as you do? How do you develop new other pitchers on the staff? How does that work? Because it's not you can't just depend on both of them as great as they are. You develop other arms. How is that process?
That is a great question because it's something I thought about a lot last year and continue to think about this year because it's so important. And I think really just giving them as many opportunities as possible, knowing that there's sort of looking at, like, especially if they're younger, looking at, it's easy to see a finished product. For a long time, I worked at West Point, and there was sometimes these officers who had everything. They looked just so buttoned up and put together. And I know some of the cadets would look at them like, I could never be that. And you have to think they have how many years experience and how many challenges and successes in between. And it's kind of the same where these athletes see them as juniors at the final season. Like you say, the attention kind of is at that time frame now entering their senior year. They were high school juniors, seniors, and then freshmen on the St. John's team, and even sophomores who I thought performed very well as sophomores. I thought they really stepped up, in my opinion, but not, again, as much notoriety. So you have to think that was almost a 3-year, 4-year process to where they are. And again, all credit to them. So letting those athletes know, hey, this doesn't just happen overnight, and letting Serafinko and Francia espouse that to them. But then on our end, getting them the opportunities and sometimes even just guiding them in more of a, I hate the term safer space, but more like in a space where they can succeed a little bit and keep getting those, climb up the ladder a little bit. So that's piece developing, getting to know, again, them getting to know my style, me getting to know them, and realizing how I am as a coach, that I'm never going to come out and say, I hate this, don't do this. Or, I want them to see it. I want them to talk to me. I mean, that's the thing. I tell them everything that you've ever felt, every emotion you've experienced, every insecurity, I've experienced at some point in time. So I can also at least tell you it's normal, even if you think it's silly. So getting them exactly like that in a developmental phase, in practice and inter squads, and then ultimately in games, and then potentially in pressure situations. I know last fall I put a freshman back in a very, what I would consider a very pressure situation, a 1-run game against a powerful team. And I was not going to let her, if she chose so, to come out of that game in a bad situation and never go back. I wanted her to go back and finish, and she did. She got the final 3 outs of the game. However, and I know, and again, fall is exhibition, so it's more of a different climate. And again, we had other people who could go in, but they were physically able, they were emotionally able, but just try to challenge her with that so that she could finish the season motivated, because I knew she could. I just wanted her to know she could, if that makes sense.
Oh, it does very much. You've got a lot of returners on offense and defense, but you also have some new faces. What do you feel like the identity will be like?
That's a great question too. I told the team actually to start the season on our first meeting. The great thing about teams is college teams, they change it, pro teams, I guess too, change every year. The bad thing is they change every year. So you have to form a new identity. You have to bring in people of carrying down traditions, carrying down standards, and then it's incumbent upon the returners to bring the new ones in. So I think we have 8 newcomers. So we do have a great deal, especially when you look at a roster of about 22. 8 is a big percentage. And so I think that the roster is going to be different in terms of everything. We lost our whole infield of who started last year in the not whole infield. Maddie Kanapka started at most games at third, but middles, first, and catcher, who took up the bulk. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to draw from 3 opportunities to fill in, and that will then ultimately probably change a lot of demographics. The 3 opportunities are athletes who are returning, who play different positions. and then they could fill in. Like I said, she played third. I don't know if Manny Kanaka will necessarily be our third baseman, but she's going to be viable for many positions. Same with Stouffer. Same with all the returners who were playing in more of the starting lineup. Athletes who are returning who maybe did not see a lot of action on the field last year, who are going to be able to step up and get those opportunities. And then, of course, the newcomers coming into those positions as well. So this fall, with that many changes, is really just going to be, we're going to take our lumps. And I've told them that. I even told our returners in May, we're going to come out on top. I'm confident of that. And we have the ability and we have the personnel, but we are going to take lumps. We're going to have bad practices. We're going to make mistakes, and we have to, because that is the only way we're going to grow. And we have already. We've had great days. We've had lump days. And I am a huge believer, and the team probably will tell you this because I probably say it ad nauseum. I am a firm believer in that you learn more about yourself, your team, your identity in defeat than you do in success. Both are important, both are crucial. The balance is important, but we're going to need both of those things to learn and continue to move forward. So as far as an identity, I can't tell you that right now. I can just tell you TBD, it's in progress. And as you know, so many things happen between now and then, whether it's an unexpected injury or an unexpected like clicking moment, something like that. So it keeps me on my toes every day.
No, it's understandable. You lose, a good chunk in the infield, including the co-defensive player of the year. That's going to take a minute.
Yeah, and again, Gerard was another example of, from the moment I stepped on the field. I mean, I could watch her field 3 balls and tell her how tremendous she was on the infield. That was a progress. She was not. If you look at her freshman year to her senior year, she was a different player, and that's a lot of what I'm focusing on in this, and my staff, of course, in this program, is we are still, I know there's the NIL, I know there's the portal, and I'm not against any of that stuff, but we are still foundational in our development. We're foundational, and we want you to leave St. John's being the best softball player you can be. And that limit is different for everybody, but we're going to give you the tools and the coaching to get to that place. And we hope that everyone gets there, but we're still going to be based in foundational, as opposed to just rotational in terms of our roster.
What do you hope the returners, especially, learned from last year and that postseason? Because I know the postseason didn't go the way you would have liked after winning the Big East regular season title. But some of your players had not been in that situation as being the top seed and the expectation. So, what do you hope you learned from that experience for your players that are returning?
I'm gonna amend your statement. None of our players had been in that situation, and that is a pivotal piece. Even when I look back at it, and I'm a ruminator when it comes to anything. Even if we have a great game, I'll ruminate over the things that maybe we need to do to get better and what made us good. And then there's also when postseason play comes around, there's also a lot of luck and a lot of emotions that come in. And that's one thing I told our staff is like, none of these athletes have ever been in that situation. We went from being on like the bottom third to 20% of the conference to then my first year, I thought our team played. Now, this is not statistic. This is not ranking. Who we are or who we were and how we played. I thought we played excellent with one little thing, almost technicalities that just didn't go our way in the tournament. But I thought we were a very, very strong team in the tournament. And I had to think they weren't there prior. Some of them had never even been to the tournament. They didn't even experience the atmosphere. So then all of a sudden, a year later, and now this is such a short amount of time, similar athletes go from never being or not experiencing the tournament to then experiencing it and doing well but falling short, to then being the hunted, where everybody is looking at you and everybody is preparing for you. That's a challenge, and sometimes it's a challenge where you almost feel ambushed. You don't know what to expect. Um, so I think all of that it serves as a experience to knowing the emotions and controlling the emotions. Excuse me. I think it also it breeds a fire. It's not like, oh, okay, now what? I feel it deep in my belly where you almost want to fast forward and hopefully get to the tournament. And this year is going to be a lot harder to get to the tournament. Big East is going to truncate the participants. So it's even going to be harder in a very, very, in my opinion, very competitive conference. But just to get there and have that experience, but also just to, I don't know, like I think it's a motivator, and I think it also comes out with experience too.
Yeah, you mentioned the Big East tournament going to 4 teams this upcoming season. It'll be held in Rosemont. What what got you into coaching softball? You've paid your dues. You've coached. Obviously, you were at Tennessee Tech. You were at Army, as you mentioned earlier. You were an assistant, I think, at FGCU. What got you into coaching softball?
That that is a great question that I have not probably been asked in years, because I'm older than people think. Great question.
That's a good
I
problem to
played.
have, by the way. That people think you're older than you actually are. That's a good problem.
I'll carry that with me. Um, Honestly, when I was in school, it was never in the cards or a thought ever. Trying to think of the short version of this, but when I was in school, it was never an option, never thought. And women, particularly, but softball coaches in general, didn't really make a career. I'm sure you've heard of all, like, Hutch, when she talked about how much money she made, something like insane, like $3,000 or something like that. I don't quote me on all that, but you know, pennies is and even then, so I just sort of, where I went to school, again, you didn't make careers out of it. Small, a lot of times our coaches, they had other jobs, they had other obligations. Sometimes they couldn't get to practice, sometimes things. And I really just started to get into it. Like, hey, if you're not there, let me go with this. Let me do something. And then it morphed over time, over the course of 4 years, from just, and I loved softball. I was like obsessed with it. I hated canceling practices. I hated doing anything. I always wanted to be the kid who worked harder, the kid who was there every day, early, late, all of the above. So that sort of metamorphosed in many different ways over the course of 4 years at when I played. And then I was talking to my brother, of all people, and he was talking about, I was talking about GA stops, and he said, some of these schools have people who are graduate assistants, so you can coach and get a degree. So I was looking into that, and I ended up being a GA a little bit, and then I remember talking to my parents, and I was like, well, there's spots. And I remember my dad saying, hey, this was a means to like help financially get school paid for, to go and like get a job, not to become a coach. And then all of a sudden I was like, things are changing. So that's kind of how it rolled. And when, opportunities open themselves up. And I really think my start at West Point, just it started my whole career. And I don't know if I didn't have that opportunity, if I'd still be coaching, if I would have got into it. I think your first, they say in the Army, your first duty assignment is an important piece for your career. The same applies to me. I don't know, had I not gotten that opportunity, where I'd be, if I'd be coaching, if I'd be at this level, if I'd be at this school. I don't know. So I'm eternally grateful for the opportunity and for the people who helped me get there. But a lot of it also then was, I enjoyed it. I really thought like that. Looking at the hours, you have to be okay with the hours. You have to be so in love with the sport and so crazy about the sport. And also what I thought was just how much did I learn about life? How much did I learn about softball? What were my goals as an athlete? Were they achieved? Why or why not? Um, and just what a wonderful opportunity for me and for future athletes, that in a world right now where some women aren't even allowed to get an education in some countries, we're getting paid to get a college education and play softball. Like, what a fantastic opportunity in appreciation and humility. And I just thought I learned a lot. I always was kind of I was the kid who wanted to know the rules so I would be able to follow them. I was the kid who wanted to come early, stay late, and help out the team in any way. Not everybody's like that. And again, I love the differences. It's fine. So it just seemed to fit me well, as I thought I could help and serve others through the sport as time evolved.
Well, you got the right sport when you want to learn rules. There's plenty of rules to learn in softball that sometimes we don't even find out until we're in the middle of a game, as we've learned
You're
in
telling me
this.
I meant more team rules, but you're right on that.
Oh,
You're right on that. That is for sure.
who were some coaches that maybe influenced your coaching style as time went on? Was there any coaches in particular you kind of picked their brain, or you looked at them and you kind of looked at how they did things and influenced, or you just kind of developed your own style?
So I majored in English literature in college, and then when I started looking into, like what I was saying, when coaches weren't around, I got lots of coaching books. My bookshelf in college was like half all my literature books, half this, and the other side was coaching, different different sports, different styles, and I think really just and then comparing that and blending that with experience. I did come from a generation where, where some of these, you label them now old school coaches, that was the way. And I was the youngest. My brother, who I referenced, he's 10 years older than me, and I came from that and I followed everything he did. So there's a lot of rules, there's a lot of regulations, there's a lot of voices for student athletes. And I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I think it's a good thing. But you didn't have any of that. The thought of, I don't even know if my parents even knew who the athletic director at my school was, or administrator. Whatever coach said, you did, and you did it. And, you never questioned anything like that. But anyway, I grew up and even my household was very, that I grew up in as a child, was very similar. You did what you're told, or else, like, I don't even think I ever challenged it. Truthfully, I was too scared to challenge it. So then I started noticing a great deal of, like, did I really, blossom under that kind of theory? And then I would have coaches that were a little bit more younger, calmer, like pointed something out, or more motivational, like, as opposed to punitive. I still remember a basketball coach, once was punitive if you always did something wrong. And then similar team, different coach was like, you cannot let the ball beat you down the court. That is your goal. I ran until I was ready to pass out, because I never wanted the ball to beat me down the court, because that was her. She gave me more of that carrot. So between experiences, there's nothing one set out, is what I'm getting at. But experiences, I played 3 sports growing up, in high school, travel, all of them, post season, different coaches. Um, I even swam competitively before I did all that, and then in college played multiple sports. So I had a lot of different coaching pieces and a lot of different influences, and then really tried to see where are we getting the most of athletes. Where is that nice balance, and trying to strike that balance. And to be honest, I still try to strike that balance every day. I'm not saying I get it. I have to do internal retrospect and feedback every day to see if I'm doing the best I can.
We all do in our own lives, in our own way. I think
I
we
hope
kind
so.
of deal. What 3 sports did you play?
Soccer, basketball, softball.
Okay. Well, other than softball, which of the others did you like the most? Like, if you weren't playing softball, which one did you enjoy more?
I'm going to pivot because you brought up a good one. You brought up a great question. What did I enjoy more? That's how I ended up landing on softball, was because I got to the point where I was trying to, like, why can't I make a decision? Because everyone was telling me you should focus on one, you should focus on one, you should focus on one. So at the end of my college career, my last 2 years, and then obviously my professional career in coaching, I focused on softball. And I thought, like, I can't. I love them all. I love when I'm at soccer, I like soccer. When I'm at basketball, I like basketball. There is an overlap. I started getting to the point where there was conflicts, and I would wake up in the morning and I'd think, I wish I didn't have a soccer tournament this weekend. I wish I had a softball tournament. So that is how it just came to me at one point where I was thinking, I cannot sacrifice any more time missing softball just because I love it so much. And I remember in college, we were running, and I am not, I do it, and I'm so appreciative that my body can do it, but I'm not a big runner. And I just remember, like, hating it and thinking and looking over at the softball field very whimsically, wishing I was on the softball field at that moment. So that's sort of, to me, nothing compared, nothing compared at that point.
Yeah, that's pretty clear. Especially if you don't like running, soccer is probably not meant for you. I think that's
Well,
or
I
basketball
played
for that
I
matter.
played goalie. So in my defense, we didn't do
Oh,
as much running, but we always had to be included in the running. So
this is true. You got to be part of the team. I
yes.
understand. All right, next time I bring you on, we're gonna dive deep into this. I feel there's like a deeper story here you're not letting on right there, but
We
you
have
got
time limits,
we
and
do have time.
you want
Yeah.
to get people listening to this. If I keep doing this, you're going to have people turn off your station.
Oh, I don't know about that. Let me. I cannot. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you. You being in St. John's, have you? Do you go to basketball games? Have you? I mean, that's a yes, right? That's I feel like it's a
Come
dumb
on now.
question. What's it like?
I have to admit, I was a little, when I started here, I was like, oh my gosh, what is the population gonna think? We just hired Rick Pitino, and then a couple months later, you know, who's this gal coming in here? Um, it's a hard name to live up to, but it's been really fun being here in the Rick Pitino era. It really has. And I think, I try to tell the athletes that, we put in so much time and blood, sweat, and tears that they don't get. No one else, not softball, no one else gets as much limelight as basketball, and that's normal in every school. But this is also a fantastic part of your collegiate experience, to be able, how many people can go take a subway or take a train to MSG and then watch a team fill out, like, sell out MSG constantly, and especially on such an iconic name as St. John's, iconic in athletics and your predecessors. So it's been really fun to be here during that time, for the athletes, for myself, I think for the whole department. I can't speak for others, but I would think so. And I feel like, just as a sports fan, you see how he is as a coach. I mean, his record, they highlighted his fresh year, is unbelievable. The turnarounds that he made in such a short amount of time with every single program. And that's also over the course of time, thinking how different the rules have been, the guidelines have been, the atmosphere of college basketball, the atmosphere of college athletics. So it's inspiring.
No doubt, and I'm sure it's very exciting. Have we gotten to the point where you've invited him to throw out a first pitch yet? Are we working on that? Like I feel like
We're
that.
working. We're honestly, we have, like, suggested his schedule is quite busy, but he is a friend to the program.
Good.
And appreciate that.
I'm just saying, from one Big East coach, champion coach, to another Big East. I mean, just what I'm saying.
Well, one time I thought of it very late, my first year, very late, and he already had obligations to throw out the first pitch with the New York Mets, or Yankees, one of the two. So I think we got a little competition on that,
There
but
is a
we're
lot of
getting
competition there in your market. Yeah, there is a lot of competition for first pitches, sir.
but we're getting there. But yeah, he's a great friend of the program, so that's appreciative.
That's fantastic to hear. That's awesome.
Mhm.
My last thing, you've been so kind. We've kept you for a while. We'll definitely bring you back on
Mhm.
down the road. But Big East softball, it's, I mean, like I've talked about, it's so fascinating with what you've done there. And of course, Galore Valentino and UConn, you both came down to the last day weekend for the regular season title. Villanova and the job Bridget Orchard has done there. Creighton being in the Big East title game. You mentioned it's going to be a 14 Big East tournament, but there's a grind just to get there with the regular season. And you're in the Northeast where there's a growing success that we've seen with not only just UConn, but you look at the Marist and making the tournament as a 3 seed, Binghamton as a
Yeah.
3 seed. How would you describe it, being in St. John's and the success and competing in the Big East?
Mhm. I think it's a very competitive conference. And that was when we heard about the four teams, that was one of my biggest arguments is that even I knew about the Big East a lot prior to taking this job. But if you even look at a lot of our common opponents, sometimes Villanova will play somebody and then we'll play them 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later. Some of these very successful teams have played Big East schools, and Big East is they're like 0-3, 0-4 to Big East. Granted, you can't always compare that because it's a different preseason's a different animal, but I think the Big East is a softball is a hugely successful and competitive. I mean, every game is a dogfight. Even though we did have, like you said, 19 wins, it so many were by one run in every way, and that can go anyway. Creighton, we played a lot of extra innings in the regular season. One game was 13, I think, in one game. So it's so competitive. And I think what's intriguing about like the four teams that you just mentioned, including us, we are wildly different in where we are, our schools, our programs, our coaching staffs. So that adds an interesting element. Our resources. It's just, why are these teams? There's no cookie cutter thing going on there. There's just, and it's a dogfight to be successful, and I just think we're so different that is an intriguing piece of formulating the future and what can keep us moving in the right direction. But I think our whole, even teams that we haven't mentioned, very competitive, very strong. The whole Big East, top to bottom, is a dogfight, and I really think anytime anyone takes the field, anyone can win. Anyone can win the game, and there's so many times where you have to look beyond the wins loss, and you look at how the game manifested, where that team's one hit away, one pitch away from winning versus losing, and that trajectory changes, and then the record changes, and then so on and so forth. That even someone middle to lower, preseason, in season, is a heartbeat away from breaking out. But I hope people see it. I think people see it, and I think they see it in the athletes that are coming to the Big East, especially when you're shadowed a little bit by the Power Four. And now we're gonna start seeing a whole nother element of the world with the 25-man roster, the scholarship changes. That's going to be we're all going to have to navigate that, I think, in different ways. Like I said, those four teams that you mentioned, and they include the whole Big East, though, we're all very different schools, very different environments, very different resources at our disposal because of where we are and who we are. So I really just, for us, want to maintain our identity, stay true to our values, and control the things that we can control, and then do the best we can and let the chips fall where they may. And that's how we can sleep well at night.
Well, certainly St. John fans should feel to sleep well as coming off a great historic year, another anticipated great season coming ahead. You're a part of that, Coach. It's good to meet you.
Good to
Good
meet
to have you.
you.
We'll definitely have to get you back on. You're going to be part of the rotation. Maybe that's good or bad news, depends on your perspective on that down the road. But I appreciate you taking the time from the busy schedule as you're getting things going in the fall and letting you know your team and taking the time to talk to us and telling us your story. Appreciate you. We'll definitely have you back on, but thanks for coming on and talking to us here on In the Circle.
Sure. Again, thank you. I'm glad I have the opportunity to show the world a little bit, the softball world, what our athletes are doing, because they are, and my staff, because they're all top notch.